Hello everyone, welcome back to another commentary video. This one's going to be on Theater of Pain. I'm on Prop Pelly again for this video. I'm just playing Prop Pelly because it's strong on beta right now, so my job's easier so I can watch what other stuff is happening around me and not tunnel my own health bar constantly. Let's get into it. This is on a 15, just Prideful I believe. So right off the bat, there's a 3-pack and a mini boss behind them. These guys hit the tank pretty hard, as you'll see here shortly. But mostly you want to watch out for these two unyielding contenders. So, this guy and this guy both have an enrage cast. One of them just got it, it's the Death Wish. The other one's about to cast it. It's a really fast cast, hard to see. But what it does is gives them 20% more damage and 20% more damage taken from the players. So it's actually good in a sense, but they do hit the tank really hard. So pop major CDs here. There's one caster, just keep it kicked if possible. And the other notable thing in this pack is the Raging Bloodhorn, the guy on the big rat mount. He has an enrage cast as well. His AoE cast is actually an enrage, it's kind of weird. I think he already did it once. There it is, Raging Tantrum. So if you have a Soothe in the group, like a Druid or a Hunter, you can actually just soothe it as soon as he starts that tantrum and he'll stop right away. He just won't do the AoE. We don't have it in this group, but luckily we just healed through it. Alright, so that's just the intro pack to the dungeon. Right off the bat, you also have the first boss, the Affront of Challengers. This boss has a lot going on. I don't know the entire, like all the secrets to this boss yet, just because there's so many abilities from all three council members. But the big things are, whenever each boss hits 40% health, they gain a shield for 30% of their health. So they basically go up to 70% health after they get down to 40%. The shield does time out after 30 seconds, and I think the one on Desia is purgeable. One of them is purgeable, but not all of them. We'll just start the fight and see how it goes. I think we decided to focus down Sathel. Sathel has the more dangerous cast, I believe. I think he spams something called Death. Searing Death, there it is. I think that's the hardest hitting one. This Desia guy has a rage bar, he's filling up. He hits the tank pretty hard. As a tank player, you want to make sure you stay on him the whole time. That slam there is a hit nearest target kind of ability. So soon he'll go fixate one of my party members, and if I'm not near him, he'll also slam them. So keep on him as best you can, even though the casters are like teleporting around, really hard to keep track of. This is kind of a weird fight for tanks. You can see over there in the top left, Sathel has that shield because he hit 40%. It's hard to see where I paused it right here, but he gained that shield on his health bar as soon as he hit 40% health and has 13 seconds left. Desia is casting Mortal Strike on me. I think that's the rage bar. As soon as his rage bar fills up, he casts Mortal Strike. But yeah, this fight has a ton going on. You don't necessarily have to kill all three at the same time. In fact, the best strategy might be better to kill one and then deal with two, because they all gain the shield at 40%. So if you like burn one to 40%, then you can turn and focus another boss while the shield's up. Which may be the most efficient way to do it, but I'm still not sure because it's so complicated. Also, the other mechanic I was just going to talk about was this ad spawns as an invisible assassin. He'll go and channel on someone for like 10 seconds or something. Let's see. He'll pop up behind me on my healer. Any second. There it is. Yeah, so opportunity strikes. He's channeling on the healer back here. And I'll turn around and hodge him as soon as I notice. I wasn't that fast on it this time, but once I know the fight better, I'll probably instantly be able to break him out with Paralyze or Hodge or whatever you have as a tank. So yeah, I'm staying on Desia, even though there's casters going ham. Desia now has the 40% shield. So the party is finishing off the other boss. Karen? I don't know how to pronounce that. There's the Mortal Strike, and his Rage Bar's gone. Go. I'm learning a lot about this boss just watching it back, honestly. There's so much going on. It's like you're gonna have to do this 10 to 15 times before I really know. I'm not sure what causes the puddles on the ground. It seems like they go on random players' positions. Yeah, there's a puddle that just went out there. It looks like it goes out from that main guy, Decia. The 3 council bosses have slightly different health pools. I think Decia had the most, Pacerin had the second most, and Sathel had the least, which is why we focus Sathel on pull. I think that's the way it's meant to be, because she has the least, and she has the most dangerous casts. You probably want to take her out first. Alright, so we finished the first boss. The RP takes about 20-25 seconds, I think. Sends you down to this pit. You have 3 wings to go down toward. So you get the option, you start in this middle area, and you can either go southeast, northwest, or straight north. I've been going southeast first. I don't think it really matters yet. I'm sure this will all change once we have good routes for prideful timings, but in the meantime, we're going southeast first. I'll just refer to this wing as Xav the Unfallen's wing. All these wings like loop back around, so we'll go all the way through here, up the stairs, back to this hallway, and then the boss is right here on the minimap. And the first trash we have in this area, these 2 ossified conscript guys don't really do much. They just hit the tank, as far as I understand. The Arbalist is an archer mob, though. He's the one you should focus for sure. There's a pack of 2 of these later, and that pack's actually pretty dangerous, because these Arbalists just cast shoot on random party members, and then Jagged Coral. I think it's like ricocheting shot from Siege, or like ricocheting knife from Freehold. Similar to that. So after the archer dies, I'm chaining into the first mini-boss here, because these conscripts are pretty not dangerous. These mini-bosses are on some kind of rotation. Like every time I come into theater, they're different. It seems like there's a bunch of them. There's 3 total mini-bosses you have to fight through to get to the boss. And they're like challengers of the theater, so they rotate either on a daily basis, weekly basis, or a dungeon, like independent dungeon basis. I'm not sure yet. This guy's not too bad. He just does that leap. He does a cast that you can kick, and then a tank channel, the Savage Flurry. You can see it's taken about half my health through Shield of the Righteous and Ardent Defender. So it's no joke. Probably pop a minor CD if you have. You can see there on the right. This is the Covenant specific buff for this dungeon. There's 1 of these banners in each of the 3 wings on the minimap. They're always at the start of the wing somewhere. Like usually after the first pull in the wing. So in this case, it was right after that first mini boss, and the Necrolord in our group is going to activate the banner and give us all, I think, 5% versatility for 10 minutes. The versatility is correct, but I can't remember the duration or the value. It's either 5 or 10% for 5 or 10 minutes, one of the 2. This is the second mini boss, Harugia the Bloodthirsty. I don't think she does anything dangerous for tanks. Just once again, another cast interrupt, battle trance. Tries to take out my ranged players. There's 1 dangerous mini boss. I don't think it was in this particular run, but there's some mini boss that has a chance to spawn that hits the tank every 15 seconds or so and takes away your ability to dodge or parry. That one's really dangerous. But I don't think we got it this run, so we kind of high rolled the good RNG. Yes. Also of note, if you see that mini boss was worth like 8% trash, it's a lot. So even though it seems like you may want to skip those, it doesn't seem like we actually do want to skip those yet, because they give so much count. Fighting the seasonal affix manifestation of pride here. You can see we're just spread out. I'll try to talk about this once in each video, but the pride you'll probably want to commit some CDs to from the group, whether that's defensive or offensive CDs, probably a mix of both. You can see the damage ramps up per stack that the pride gets. We're going to end at about 20 stacks, looks like here. He's at 19 right now, but every stack he gets more powerful and pulses harder on the group. I think he gains auto attack damage as well. This is a challenging pack, so it's good we had the pride for it. This captain here is the important one. So there's 2 Arbalists, the archer mobs. There's 2 useless mobs, these conscripts. You don't have to worry about those. And then the captain is the main focus here. he has an aura that increases the damage of his nearby enemies, or his allies rather. So make sure the group focuses him down. Kick the demoralizing shout, obviously. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, just reduces damage done by the players. As soon as the captain dies, take out the Arbalest. So they killed an Arbalest right after the captain there, which is good. Those Arbalists have a high chance of just comboing your group and killing someone, because 2 shoots, 2 jagged corals go out on the same person, they're probably going to die. That's a common theme with archer mobs too. Archer mobs tend to be very dangerous in dungeons. This is the 3rd mini-boss, Mr. Advent Nevermore. And this is also the last trash mob of this trash wing. So this guy's going to actually proc our 40% pride, even though we're at 34% trash. I think he's worth like 8%. And as you can see, he's not too dangerous. He's just free percent. He casts that shield at a random party member, so they just have to move and DPS him from behind. He has a couple other minor abilities. So yeah, we're up to 41%, 34. So I guess it's like 7%, 7.5%. Fighting the 40% pride here. There's a boss directly after this, so we're going to run up as fast as we can. And start Xav the Unfallen as soon as this pride dies. Interesting to note with the pride buff, it does give you 60% movement speed, so you'll see we'll use it to our advantage to move quickly here. And it's always tempting to like press your own movement speed during the prideful buff because you think it'll make you faster, but if I were to press horse here, it would actually just keep me at the exact same speed because the speed effects do not stack. So the pride 60% movement speed buff is like actually more speed than most classes just get by default. Tiger's less. Divine Steed, all the same or less than the 60% move speed increase. Alright, so this boss fight is pretty straightforward. You want to kill these banners ASAP. As soon as the banner goes down, yell at your DPS to get on it. It has a ramping slow on the group. So the banners don't actually do damage, but they slow you, and then you can't get out of these AoEs because you're too slow. This is an interesting one. This doesn't affect the tanks, but he's sending down 2 players with this chain debuff. Blood and Glory is like a duel that he sends them down into this arena over here, and they have to fight to the death. And whichever player wins gets a 10% damage buff, I believe. Still, I don't think they've changed that yet. Obviously, to min-max this dungeon, you don't want your players to actually fight. You want one player to just own the other one as fast as they can, so that they can get back and help the group kill the banner here and DPS the boss faster. Brutal combo is just like the first mini boss in this area. It did about the same damage, looks like too. About half my health. Crushing Slam is the frontal part of his combo. Massive Cleave is half the room, and then he'll do an AoE around himself. Deafening Crash, which also interrupts casts. So you can remind your healer to stop casting, or your ranged DPS to watch the cast bar, etc. But pretty much as a tank, just drag this boss to the banners, kill the banners. Help remind the group about the mechanics so you don't wipe. That's about it. You can actually freedom through this slow. I think I'll use it here to get out of that funnel. Yeah, I barely dodged it. But as you can see, the banner needs to die ASAP so that people can dodge that. That was very close. We almost wiped there. One more banner, one more brutal combo. This boss is probably the easiest, I think, out of the 4 in this place. You'll see later, some of the bosses in here are pretty highly tuned still. They might not make it to live that way. Usually when I say something like that, it gets changed the next day, so we'll see. But that's the end of the first trash wing with Xav. We're going to go to the northwest wing now on the map. I'm going to go like up this direction. It might actually be better to go to the other one for Lust. I can't remember what we do with Lust here. But the boss on the north wing Kul'tharok is by far the hardest boss at the moment. Alright, let me back up just a little bit to show this trash. So this room has a couple things. These disease horrors are throughout this trash wing. They cast a meat shield every 15 seconds. If you're super on top of it, you can kick meat shield right away before they add any extra health to themselves, but they channel extra health onto themselves like every 1 second once they start it. The other thing that you should know is there's one of these blighted sludge spewers in each of these 5-packs. I think the other one's this guy right here. This butt facing us. But these guys have really dangerous AoE casts, so you want to assign one person to the disease horror, this guy, one person to that sludge spewer, and one person to that sludge spewer if you're gonna triple pull this stuff. Everything else does not cast, but it does do AoE damage. The rest of the mobs are jumping at the group, kind of like the Sards and Ataldazar. So there's the first dangerous cast. It was called Wretched Discharge, I believe. You can see the meat shield just went off on the disease horror. Got some extra 20% health or so. Just because we're not fully coordinated in this room. You'll see the blighted sludge spewer is that other important mob. There's the Wretched Discharge cast right here. If that goes off, the group will get chunked by like half their HP, and they'll all have a disease on them. And this cast is every 15 seconds, so you can assign one melee to this, one melee to this, and one melee to this guy. In between the Wretched Discharge casts, he casts solo bolts at the tank. I think it's called Decaying Filth. I just dispelled that debuff off me. Lots of diseases in here. Lots and lots of diseases. My shield, my Avenger shield just got that Wretched Discharge cast. He'll probably cast in like 10 seconds one more time. But I would definitely recommend pulling these in small amounts at first until people are used to all these casters that also jump around. It's also worth noting on those packs, and this next pack as well, the party should stay relatively stacked so that all those mobs that jump around don't go too far out of people's range. Remind your players to move in a little bit. Don't be like fully stacked so they don't cleave each other with the jumps, but at least be close enough to handle the casts going out so their melee interrupts can reach their targets. So this pack has 2 of the important kit guys. I think this will be a problem pack for a lot of groups. Make sure you have an assignment for 1 kick on each of the Wretched Discharges, and then have all other kicks just kick the Decaying Filth casts. And once again, try to stack up a little bit this pull. Notice how they jump out and then try to cast their sneaky, dangerous group wiping cast out of range. I haven't talked about the Butcher yet, but the Putrid Butcher Abomination looking mob really doesn't do much except hit the tank, and then he'll also try to chop a random party member. He just chopped Cryptics there. Alright, so we clean those up. I actually think that's the hardest part. There's a bigger pack up here, but I don't think it's quite as dangerous as that double AoE caster pack. This Rancid Gas Bag is an interesting mob. He just pulses AoE around him passively. He has an aura. And then he does that frontal and backle, where he shoots in front of him and, I guess, out of his butt at the same time. Not too complicated, just know that this is a lot of AoE damage. You're taking about 6k HPS for Cryptics to keep us up through this guy. And it's good to know because there's another one in 2 packs. So we come down this bridge, there's a 5-pack here that has 2 casters. This is the only other dangerous part, this wing. So we've got one of the mobs is the Disease Horror here. This guy has the Meat Shield cast again, so just put 1 fast reacting melee kick on it. And then we've got the Blighted Sludge Spewer here for the Wretched Discharge cast that you want to watch out for as well. Everything else is pretty normal. Just more of the same. I think it'll be a little bit confusing for people that haven't done this dungeon yet. The Blighted Sludge Spewers and the Scarred Refuse mobs look really similar, so you gotta actually just watch the names on their nameplates. Mark whichever one has the more interesting name, and then have people kick that. So that proc the 60% pride, which is good because this next pull is a lot of damage. So having 30% more healing on your healer, 30% more damage, 60% movement speed, very good for this next part. This group I'm playing with in this video has pretty good damage overall, I think. This pride's only really getting to 20 stacks, which is really nice for the healer. I think that's a good metric to measure the group's DPS by. Like 20-21 stacks is pretty decent. If you get above 25 stacks, it's rough for the healer. So you don't have to pull these two things together, but I pulled the gas bag on the bridge where he is. Which also, once you get to the middle of the bridge, like right here somewhere, these disgusted refuse mobs and the blight spewer will pop down and attack your group. Just more of the same Sard mobs, and there's one dangerous caster. Try to identify him early. He's the only one that's casting. Watch out for the frontal of this gas bag. And take care of the wretched discharge. Okay, so there, the cast actually went out. He was standing in the crap over here. No one really was able to react in time. And I could have gotten it probably, but it did do a lot of damage to the group. Just one wretched discharge cast nearly killed the group. So watch those mobs closely. Luckily, we have a powerful Resto Shaman. Resto Shaman's actually been really strong recently. I want them to stay that way for Mythic Plus, because you don't really get to see them much in dungeons, but I kind of doubt Blizzard will let them stay strong, because then they'll probably end up being overpowered for raid if so. Fortunate. This last pack before the boss isn't bad at all. Just one Butcher, one Disease Horror. Kick the Meat Shield. Don't let your melee die to the Chop cast. That's about it. Chop. King Strike goes on the tank. That actually hits pretty hard. I think that's notable. Both these mobs hit the tank hard, I guess. The Devour Flesh from the Butcher also chunked me a little bit. I should be dispelling that disease on me. There I go. There I go. Alright, so this is the second boss, Gorechop. This guy is a tank killer. Try to have active mitigation for every tank hit. It should come out here shortly. Hateful Strike, that's the one. So he half healthed me through Shield of the Righteous and Ardent Defender. So that should tell you how much damage that does. I'll try to have Shield of the Righteous available for every single time. It looks like he casts about every 15 seconds. So hold a Death Strike, hold a Purifying Brew, a Demon Spikes. Just your basic stuff for that. If you're ever low, pop an additional cooldown. Try to get threat on these two oozing leftovers that spawn. I actually get hit by the chains there. As you can see, it did not kill me, but it did make me lose my ability to parry for a second because I was stunned. Which could mean death in any other situation. So pick up these ads while you can. Prioritize dodging the chains first, but pick up the ads otherwise. They are hard to manage. It's frustrating as a tank because they just jump everywhere. They also hit the group really hard, and like you'll see every time they leap, someone gets chunked. I would say have your group focus them down. Sure. Boss damage is probably lower priority. Use my horse there to get out of the swirly and the chains as best I could. The mage Nova the leftovers to stop some of their jumps. I think that's a good idea. Probably throw a stun on these when you can just to prevent some group damage. Yeah, this is kind of a tough fight for tanks. If anything, I would prepare for this boss the most. Try to have CDs for it at least. And that's Gorechop. So to get out of this area, there's some chains you can take to go up. And I believe we forgot to get the Necrolord buff. So I'm going to go back and show them where it is in this VOD. The exit's there to the right, however I go left just to show this banner. You can see my shaman grabbing it there. And then we turn around and go to the other wing. So we got that 5% versatility buff for the group. So you see on the minimap, just to reorient where we are, this is the main chamber we're dropped down to that we just re-entered. We've already cleared this southeast wing and we've already cleared this northwest wing. So now the only one that's left is this northmost straight up wing. I think the trash overall is pretty balanced in this dungeon. Just some of the bosses feel overpowered. The boss in this wing feels really, really tough still, and I'm hoping he gets nerfed soon before launch. Because you'll see we almost wiped him. So that was another banner if you guys saw. That was the third Necrolord buff. There's one in each wing right at the start. These Shackled Souls are pretty dangerous. I did this pull. I pulled through this whole area as a paladin because I have freedom. I think it's actually really dangerous if you don't have freedom. I would not advise pulling all of these at once the first time you do this. They all cast at random targets. I think it's called Bind Soul. Yeah, a bunch of them are channeling it right now. You gotta have lots of AoE stops to prevent wipes on these guys if you want to pull like this. As a paladin, I'm just mass silencing everything, casting Avenger Shields and everything. You can freedom someone to immune them to these chains. I use it on myself to get through the gauntlet without being slowed by them. And if you can pull them all like this, it's good. It's definitely a good count. I think all of them together are about 9%. And then I just pulled the 2 remaining ones with the Prideful Mob. I think the easiest way to mass pull those would be to run through... The rest of the group was shrouded as well, by the way. So they didn't have a chance to get picked by the channeled slow, and I was just freedom, so I was immune. That's why that worked so well. But I think the best way you can do it is having the group shroud through, having an AoE stun as soon as they all get to the corner and are stacked up. And then if you have something like Solar Beam or Sigil of Silence, or Mass Silence from a Paladin from Divine Toll, then I think it makes that pull a lot easier, simpler. This Portal Guardian is just an AoE party damage mob. I think once everyone gets pretty good at this dungeon, we'll probably end up pulling that guy with some of those Bind Soul dudes from before. Once he dies, you pick up that orb that was on the ground and you place it... Let me back up a little bit, actually. So, he dies, one of us will pick up this orb. Looks like it's me, and then I place it in the left container. You can place it on the right one as well if you want. There's 2 different options for all these portals. Like this right one I think will send you this platform. This left one will send you to that platform. I've preferred the left one for some reason. I can't remember why. Once I know the mobs better in here, I think I'd be able to tell you a little bit more. They keep changing the trash though, so like these are new mobs on this platform. More of the Shackled Souls from before, and there's also a Soulbinder. It was casting Necrotic Bolt Volley. That just sounds awful, so make sure you kick that. And we'll continue to the next platform. That platform didn't have 2 options, it just had 1 gateway. So the initial choice you make of which direction you go matters for the next 2 platforms. We'll go to a small platform and then a big platform with this 3 trash packs on it. This pull is pretty dangerous. This Bone Magus here has a basically one-shot mechanic. I think it's Bone Spear on a random party member. And I always choose to lock this down myself as a tank to make sure nobody dies. And then I tell everybody else to focus this Soulbinder. I think this has more kicks on it, but people can rotate through kicks. If you're really coordinated, you can call on the Soulbinder while stopping the Magus yourself. And then the last thing is this Portal Guardian, which we've seen already. He just does the AoE damage. So you'll see me just tunnel this Magus. I'm a Paladin, so I can silence him over and over. So there's the Bone Spear cast. And he's also just getting destroyed. Grave Spike is another cast. I think that's just random damage as well on the party. Soulbinder should cast Necrotic Bolt Volley at some point. Otherwise he just casts single Necrotic Bolts. pretty stereotypical for casters. And this guy also drops the orb. I forgot about it for a sec. So we're going to put it in the left gateway again. Just to reiterate, that gateway will take you somewhere else. I think it takes you over to this platform on the right side. And this left gateway should take us down to that one, I believe. I think the right gateway there currently takes you to harder trash, and so we choose to go left for a good reason here. These two dark speakers aren't really dangerous. They actually, well, if you're in a guild group, they might be very dangerous. They have casts that will knock people off the platform, so maybe, I don't know, maybe don't pull these. Those tornadoes will knock people off and they'll have to run back forever. Just be careful. Tell your group not to die to the funnels. I think it's easier if they actually stand closer to the mobs. They'll be able to see it better. I can see it really well from where I am. But as you can see, that's the only thing they do. They're kind of free count otherwise, if you can dodge. There's one more platform of trash. This platform is unavoidable. No matter what gates you take, you'll end up here eventually. And it has two dangerous casters, so you have to be ready. First time you do this dungeon, you probably won't realize you're going to be on this platform before you get here. But since I've done this a couple times, I know. So I was already telling the group that I would get the Magus kicks again, just like that pack before, and they would handle the Soulbinder. I'm just going to let this Dark Speaker free cast. There's the funnel they got to dodge, Death Winds. Kicking the Magus, making sure no Bone Spears go out. Someone just got the Necrotic Bolt Volley. Bone Spear cast. I kicked that one. And easy peasy, but only if you have the right kicks. That pack is very dangerous. Was. Prideful on this platform. This platform is a little bit small. Gotta watch out for both Prideful here, and if the affix is Spiteful, Shades will spawn and they have long melee reach, so it's going to be really tough to manage those on this platform as well. Spiteful is going to be wild. That affix. The Shades that spawn from Spiteful actually almost one-shot right now. I hope that gets toned down a little bit because of situations like this where you can't really get away from them easily. But this is the 100% Pride. We are now done with trash, and all we have is 2 bosses left. So we'll take this last portal. Takes you on a long journey. I wish it was a little bit faster. Wasted about 12 seconds of our buff so far. This orb right here is a shortcut. Make sure you click that on your way to the boss. So if you wipe on this difficult boss, the next time you take the first gate that was way over there, it'll take you directly to the last platform instead. So if you still need trash count, it may not be the play to activate this shortcut, but if this is your final wing, which it is for us because we're done with trash, then I think it's the play, just in case. So this is the boss. We did have to waste about 20% of our, or 25 seconds of our Pride debuff actually. There's so much running. Ideally, I think you want to have Lust and Prideful here, currently. This boss is the hardest one by far. You can see he puts out dots. It's not on my UI, but he's just destroying the rogue with a dot right now. And he's also just doing a ton of melee damage to me at the same time. So that draw soul mechanic, he targets 2 players with that. They're standing in these hands on the ground that I think catch the soul. I'm not actually entirely sure how that works for DPS players because it doesn't go on the tank and I haven't done too much research on it. But I do know it's mass dispellable, so having a Shadow Priest here is actually a really good benefit, and it's revivalable from a Mistweaver standpoint. So he's drawing souls from 2 different players. Happens pretty frequently, as you can tell. It does a lot of damage. As soon as it completes, I think they have to go catch their soul if it's not in the hands. So ideally, as soon as it goes out, there should be, and there's not always right now, I don't know if it's a bug or not, but there should be like 2 hand puddles around the room. So those players that get the debuff need to go stand directly in the hands so that their soul doesn't run away from them as soon as they finish the channel. And I think sometimes the draw soul comes out when there aren't puddles on the ground, and that's the really dangerous part. So yeah, here, exactly, there's no hands on the ground, so they're going to use immunes. But if they didn't have immunes, they would have to go chase down their soul. You can actually see one running around in melee right here. It's underneath the boss right now, but when I unpause, I think you'll be able to see it. One of their souls running around. Let me back up a little bit. Watching melee right there. His like light blue ghost is running around in melee, and then he grabs it, and now he's good. They used to get a damage buff after they got their ghost. It was like a 50% damage buff, but this week they disabled that for some reason. So I'm not sure if that's going to be the case when the game goes live or not. Either way, this is a difficult boss. Make sure everybody has CDs. Try to have Lust, try to have Prideful, doing plus 10 or higher. You can see we're running out of immunes. Someone's ghost is running around in melee, right behind me. Once we're out of immunes and CDs, people just die because it's tuned very high right now. I lay on hands the rogue there, buy him some time. He still has the dot though, looks like. I cast Freedom on him just in case it helps. I don't think it does anything. So me and the healer actually end up cleaning this up. Kind of funny. Normally I'd be proud of this, like finishing the boss as a tank, but it's only a 15, so it does worry me a little bit. My healer goes down there. Luckily I had Divine Shield to stop my own draw soul. You should only get draw soul as a tank if your entire group is dead like that. I don't think it ever picks the tank otherwise. But yeah, that's Kul'tharok. You can just jump down. You don't have to take that portal. The ledge is close enough. And you go back to the middle area here. There's now a teleport up to the top. Oh, I actually turn around to make sure we get this third Necrolord buff. I think since we were behind on the second buff, we just didn't grab it yet, so we grab it for the final boss. So we actually have more verse for the final boss. In this case. When this dungeon was first introduced, when you teleported up here, you had to wait an entire minute for the boss to spawn. Luckily, Blizzard cut this down quite a bit. It's only like 20 seconds now. So the boss spawns over there. And we engage Mordretha. This boss also hits pretty hard. He has a big scythe mechanic, reaping scythe on the tank here. Chunks me for a little bit. That was through some shields that I had existing already. And Ardent Defender and Shield of the Righteous for reference. Hit me for about probably half my health before shields. Here's another reaping scythe. Boom. Okay, these circles are one mechanic, and it's also overlapping with the drag mechanic right here. It's pulling us all toward the rift. I think the rift is probably a one-shot down here, so make sure you don't go in the rift at all. Spread out for these circles, obviously, as depicted by their animation, they do damage around the player when they blow up. They also spawn an ad. So both these things are happening at the same time. As a paladin player, I'm saving Divine Toll. It's on my keybinds down here for this moment, because all 5 of these ads are going to cast. I throw out my shields and interrupt all of them. So we're actually pushing the boss really fast. This is phase 2 already. He summons spirits. Those spirits create swirlies around them in one pattern, as you saw there. So dodge those. Reaping Scythe hits the tank in between. I take a lot of damage. And then the second pattern comes out here, where the spirits charge, while the boss does a frontal cleave. Dark Devastation. So I recommend being on the outside of the room. I think the spot where I'm tanking the boss is accidentally really good, because the charge went something like this across the room, back and forth. So if you find like a spot in between where the casters start, like I think some of the casters spawned here, like over here, and I noticed there was a spot that was clear here, so I just kept the boss there, and that was safe for that entire pattern. Here's another rift and ad overlap. This doesn't always overlap again, but this one's a really dangerous one. There's swirlies going on. There's a a drag mechanic. There's 5 ads that just spawned. Do your best to pick up those ads. They don't do that much damage, so don't worry too much about the ads. Just mostly focus on surviving the tank hit and all the swirlies going on. There's the charge mechanic going out. Once again, safe in this spot over here on the edge of the room. And then it alternates back and forth, back to the original swirly mechanic. Reaping Scythe almost one-shots me there. Goodness gracious. And that's it. It's Mordretha. That's just like a challenging technical boss, I think. Challenger gameplay type of boss, which I like those a lot. You can see I eluded a 210 chest piece at the end from a plus 15. And that's Theater of Pain. Hope you guys liked this video. Let me know what you want to see in the next one. Let me know what you liked and disliked in the comments, and I'll see you in a few days.